Welcome to a New York Association of Local Government Records Officers Records Management Moment. This month's Niagara mini webinar is all about the LGS-1 and retention schedules. Where do they come from? What are they based on? How do they reflect why we keep certain records? So, why do we keep certain records? In short, we keep them because they have ongoing administrative, fiscal, legal, or research value. But how do we figure out what that means? I know everybody has seen a record space like the one up in this picture, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just a matter of appraisal. What is appraisal? It's the process about collecting information about the record. We have to appraise records to determine what a record is and what kinds of value they have to us specifically as an organization. The process is collecting information like who created it, when, what for, and is that process complete yet? And are there any legal or regulatory rules about this kind of record in existence? Ooh, that sounds like it's going to take a lot of time. But guess what? New York State Archives and the Department of Education at the state level have got your back big time. We have a retention schedule for that. Retention schedules are exhaustive lists of all the things that an organization generally creates with suggestions for how long you keep them. This schedule is created using those tools of appraisal that I mentioned before. It all basically comes down to some math. Records math? Ew, I know what you mean. Gross. But step one, when you're doing appraisal, it's records times appraisal. So we're going to appraise each kind of record to find out what each kind's value is. Okay? Step two, the value of the records that we've defined plus the time period reasonably anticipated that we might need to access it. That equals the retention time. The final result is a compiled list of each individual record's type and their retention times. That's a retention schedule. In the last couple years, I've mentored a couple records managers from out of state, and it blew my mind to discover that not every state actually provides a retention schedule. But here in New York, we are so lucky. The New York State Archives creates and maintains the local government schedule for retention and disposition, also known as the LGS-1. Have you seen it? Check out the link below to review all of the archives materials. Yeah, I'm guessing you've probably seen it. And maybe you were thinking when you looked at the schedule, how do I make sense of this? It's a little complicated, but it's also pretty simple when you get a little practice. So let's break down one item in the schedule together to get a sense of what's going on here. Here's an item in the schedule that I'm guessing every single local government or organization is experiencing on a regular basis: complaints, petitions, or requests for service. Let's take a deep dive into this specific item together and review what parts are existing here that are commonly found in other items. The first thing I want to point out is this red section across the top. That's the title section, but it also has a couple of numbers and weird letter combinations that maybe if you're new to this, you just don't recognize. So those weirdies in the middle, CO2, MU1, ED1, and M, what is that, an I? I don't know. I don't know that one. Um, those are previous retention schedules that have been combined together into this retention schedule, now known as the LGS-1. Each of the numbers that follow those various schedule types represent which number this item used to be in those previous schedules. This is super vital for those of us who are dealing with records collections that date back prior to the LGS-1 because sometimes our indexes will reference these old numbers and not the new number, and we need to know which old number we're looking for to help us understand our records. The last item at the very end, 77 in this case, is the new LGS-1 item number. You need to mark this number down when you're applying for grants or in your documentation about what you have. so that later you can find the right item. Underneath that title line, highlighted in red text here, is the description of what this specific item references. Sometimes these descriptions are super long and contain a lot of detailed information about all kinds of different things that might be under this category. For example, if you ever take a look at the capital improvement project file one, you'll see that it's multiple lines of lots of different kinds of things. Let's take a minute to reflect on value before we move on to the next slide. It's really important to understand that there are two kinds of value when it comes to records. There's the primary value, which is what the original purpose of the record was. And then there's the secondary value. That's the record value that may be gained over time because of something significant happening. So think of it as a value that now exceeds the original purpose and value of that record. As an example, O.J. Simpson's glove initially just had value as a glove, but later, due to alleged crimes, we now perceive the glove to be a potential evidence of a crime and a significant one, too. Imagine, too, another scenario in a local government where somebody has committed perhaps a crime around embezzling money. Suddenly, invoices which have a really low retention, relatively short in any case, 6 years, become a record that may be very significant to your organization to prove that that crime was committed and maybe recover some funds. In this particular LGS-1 item number, you can see that there are A, B, and C sections with different retention times, and each of these reflects a primary value that these types of records may have. They're very simple. A, summary record, so a logger register has the longest. Then the actual complaints themselves for B, and C, things that are related to very routine government services or activities. A common mistake that I've seen when reviewing my own program, but also when I'm talking to folks about their programs, is the failure to notice these moments where the schedule item mentions a significance or a secondary value that the archives perceives may exist. So, always when you're looking at these schedule items, check for these notes or comments about legal related things or references to the legal code or regulatory concerns that may affect the retention. It's really important when you see these in there to note that in your office retention schedules so that later when folks are trying to decide where to store or how to store a certain thing, they keep these sort of secondary value possibilities in mind. Thank you for joining the New York State Association of Local Government Records Officers for a records management moment. Subscribe and follow for more videos from Niagara and check out our webpage for lots of resources. See you next time.